TOA and Fit Body Forever, Fit Body Boot Camp communities. What's up, everybody? Robert Linkul, trainingtheolderadult.com. I hope you're all doing great. I wanted to talk to you today about this actually came about, I was recording a workout and we were talking, as I have workouts where I am doing the workout and talking to all of you like we're doing it together. We call them follow-alongs. So basically our clients at home just hit play and we do a warm up and we start into a workout together, and I kind of tell them like, hey, you should get 70% that you can handle for this lift, and we're going to do 100% on our deadlifts here and that kind of thing. And so I give them suggestions, this and that. So anyway, we're going through, and at one point I just said, ideally we should be keeping our heart rate above 110 to 115. That keeps me in my zone 2. And then I realized that most people probably don't know what that is, what those zones are, how to find them, and what that even means, in the first place. So I wanted to go through and just talk about the zones a little bit and give you, I did a little mock-up of mine, so we'll talk numbers, but I also have instructions for all of you. And I found a really good article. This was written just maybe 2 months ago. I think the author's name's at the very end, so I'll cite when we get there. But it's understanding the heart rate zones and the effectiveness of those zones per the workout that you're trying to get into. And basically, there's multiple ways to do your heart rate. You can use wearables, right? Like a watch. This is gonna give you a number. Is it the most accurate number? Probably not. I'll just say no, it isn't, okay? But is it gonna give you a consistent number? Yeah. And the beauty of it is when the workout's done, this is built right in to your, well, here, let me go back here. So this is with our Apple phone. See that little target? That's the little fitness one. Sorry, it's not in focus, but that's the little fitness one, and you tap that. And so today, I have moved, and you have all these goals that, you can kind of set up, and it shows you, right, all your goals. And if I filled all my rings for the day, that kind of a thing. So the workout that I did today, if I go back and check this out, it's going to show me that I had a 58-minute workout, and that 58-minute workout, it has my heart rate, okay, there, that gives me my zones. See how that broke down all the zones there for me? Let me see if I can get that to zoom in. If I do the whole thing, will you focus on that for a second? Can you get it? Almost. There it goes. Okay, so see how I've got my zones there? So zone 1, less than 130 beats per minute. This is, and like I was saying, it's not terribly accurate because this shows I only spent 3 minutes in zone 2. Well, that's based on what this is reading. But what is my true zone 2? My true zone 2 is 103 to 118, 113, somewhere around in there, depending on the tool that you use to measure it. So based on that, I would have been in a zone 2 for like 48 minutes out of this. And zone 1, I would have only been in for a couple of minutes, I'm guessing. But then like zone 3 would have had like 8 or 9 minutes on it. So I'm just saying, like, because this isn't perfectly accurate, it's not going to give me my exact real numbers. But will it give me numbers every workout that are fairly consistent each workout to workout? Yes. Okay. Have I ever had my heart rate go over 168? Unless I'm doing full out wind sprints with my hip replacements in my back, I can't do. So no, I haven't really had a whole lot of zone 5 work. That's very difficult for me to get into. So I would say that's the first option is a wearable like this. They have Aura rings. They have rings that you can wear that give you a little bit better measure. They test hydration, pulse, oximeters, all kinds of great stuff there. They're rather pricey, and actually I think you wear it on your index finger. But you can do that. You can go that route. The most effective one is the heart rate monitor that goes around your chest. And that gives you a very accurate reading, and that's probably the best one if you really are like, man, I want to live by these zones, okay? So you can do that. So here's the basic way to kind of understand it, is you're going to take 220 minus your age. So there's 220 minus, I just did 40, I'm 43, but I just did 40 for easy math so we could all kind of see this. So 180 is my maximum heart rate. And then each zone, come on. Each zone, this is very high tech. You can see I did this up, right? A good presenter would have, screen grabbed this and done it up right. So there are my zones, okay? Basically, my zone 2 is 103 to 113. And then I had another calculator that I used that basically said between 100 and 120 was my zone 2. So if I shoot to keep it right in there, because zone 2 is kind of the target zone where you're elevating your resting heart rate by almost double. My resting heart rate's 60 to 62. So you're almost double. In this case, I'm pretty damn close to doubling, right? At 120. So if I were right around there, you want to be right around double your resting heart rate is a way to get cardiovascular health work, but also you're not working at such a high capacity that I could still move fairly heavy load and maintain and actually develop muscle mass in zone 2. All the best research that we've seen up to this point, all the doctors that have, everyone I always talk about, Dr. Tia, Dr. Huberman, and Dr. Andy Galpin, Dr. Lane Norton, Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, all of them, and all the research that they're putting in there, Dr. Schoenfeld, Dr. Contreras, Dr. Mike, all of them, you name any of the zone 2 is the zone that you're trying to target if you want to have hypertrophy effects of building muscle mass, but also get a cardiovascular component where you could burn some body fat. It's kind of the ideal zone, the target zone, where I'm not going to work at such a high cardiovascular level or such a high resting heart rate where it's hard for me to put on muscle mass, but I'm also not doing a set and then allowing 3 to 5 minutes where my heart rate returns all the way to zero, not zero, but all the way back down to resting again and then spike. And so that's how bodybuilder-esque and how powerlifter-esque you need to be for maximal ultimate performance. We're trying to find something in the middle. Zone 2 is kind of that zone. So if you do your 220 minus your age, get your 100 and whatever the score is, 180 for me, okay, if I were 40. And then go through and do all these percentages on there, and that kind of gives you your zones. And that way now, when you're going, you can kind of have a target here, at least by the heart rate, okay? At any point on your watch, you can just open your watch, and scroll to the heart, tap the heart, and it's going to give you, where are you guys? It's going to give you, where are you? This way. It's going to give you a heart rate, okay? It'll show you, this is the best. There you go, dumbass. It's going to give you a heart rate. What do I got? 87, 80, yeah, 80, 87. I'm all ramped up talking to you right now, okay? Now, if I tighten it, let me put it on even better. I bet you it'll give me a more accurate score. Yeah, it's already going down. Now I have it on a little tighter, okay? So you can do that at any point. And while you're working out, let me try it again. While you're working out, you could simply follow this and just kind of check it after every 3 sets, 4 sets, whatever it is, okay? And go from there. 81, 84, 79, 84, it's jumping around. So there's an option there. If you're not gonna set your workout, hey, I'm doing traditional strength or high intensity or whatever it might be. You have multiple different wearables. You can get the watches, the ring, the chest, etc. You could base your efforts on your heart rate scores through the workout apps. And if you have them set and you're like, I want to stay in zone 2, it'll beep at you and tell you go, because you're falling out of zone 2. And so it'll help you keep pace, keep tempos, if that's your target. Let's say your goal is to increase cardiovascular output. You want to push your VO2 maxes. Maybe you're an endurance athlete, you're a runner, cyclist, a mountaineer, something along those lines. So you're not trying for hypertrophy. I don't want bigger muscles. I just want strong muscles that can turn over at a low rate over and over and over again. But that low rate of effort as far as maximal output goes is actually rather high. The amount of times I ask it to do that, that's what helps my cardiovascular component go up. So lighter loads, lots of reps, I'm going to push a bit, and that's going to make me go into a zone 3 or a zone 4. And that's fine too. The value is I'm still getting strong because I'm working with weights, but I'm working this really high capacity. Now, how long are you going to be able to do that? Not as long as you could do a zone 2. Like, you're going to have to give and take from one of these. I can lift more load, or I could lift lighter load. I could lift longer, or I could lift a little shorter. There's going to be some kind of happy medium in there based on what you're trying to, produce as a goal. But it's hard to set goals and set targets for what you want to pursue if you don't know what you're pursuing, or if you don't know how to measure what you're pursuing. That's the beauty of this, okay, is that you can use these wearables, you establish your resting heart rate, you establish your working heart rate, and then you can establish, a real easy test is figure out your resting heart rate. Let's say it's 60 beats per minute. And then you do some kind of exercise that makes your heart rate go to 120, to double. And then as soon as you hit that, it hits 120, stop exercising, start another timer, and see how long it takes you to recover all the way back to 60 beats per minute. Maybe it's 2 minutes, maybe it's a minute and a half, whatever that is. That's your recovering heart rate. And so you could always test that. And there's a couple different ways to test that, but that's a real basic one. And then your maximal heart rate is basically just if you get on a treadmill and sprint or run up a hill or bear crawl as far as you can, hop on the ski erg, hop on a Jacob's ladder, like something where you can, as hard as you can to the point where you're ready. Ideally, you would fly off the machine. And there's certain facilities that offer that. They'll give you a VO2 max and they harness you and you go on a treadmill and it's like, I forget the Bruce protocol, that whole thing, but it's like every 2 minutes, it goes up a half a mile an hour and 2% incline or something like that. And then 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes, 2 minutes. And eventually you get to the point where you're like you're huffing and puffing and you're climbing up the hill. You're like Drago sprinting on the treadmill in Rocky IV. And then at some point you're just like, I just can't do it anymore. And they're like, just keep going, keep going. They're all screaming at you. Scream, 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 scream. And eventually you just go off the back. You just can't do it anymore. And you're suspended from a harness. So you're dangling in the air. It's ugly. It's not pretty. It's not a pretty test. Okay. Wind gate test is another one where you're 20% of your body weight on a bike and you can't stand up. You just, for 30 seconds, you just sprint your ass off. Most people vomit right at the end of it. Like it's a violent, awful test. And you could not imagine how long 30 seconds is. You can't imagine until you do that. You think it's only 30 seconds. When you sprint on a bike as hard as you can, you're gassed in 7 to 10 seconds. Gassed. You're like, I'm done. And they go, do what you just did 2 more times without stopping. Like you still have 20 seconds to go. And so at the end, the last 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, you're barely turning the wheels over. I mean, barely. Fun side note, I passed my lab at Sac State for my undergrad my bachelor's in kines. I passed one of my labs because my wind gate was better than my instructor's. And I got 10 points extra, and that put me into a B- instead of a C+. In all the years, he was a cyclist, and he was on like some high-level cyclist team and was still a high competitive cyclist. And he had a standing offer. Anybody that could beat his wind gate score, power output, would get a bonus, and I beat him. I beat him by a significant value. I mean, 3-4%, but that's fairly significant in the research world. So because I beat him, I got these 10 extra points, and that bumped my grade into a B rather than a C. I think I still would have passed with a C+, but B's look a hell of a lot better, right? So that's another test where you're just ill afterwards. And there's a couple other ones too where you're testing. I forget what it is, but it's like 4 hours, and you have to keep testing every half hour. You have to urinate, and they test your pee and all that kind of stuff to see the acidity of your. Anyway, there's all kinds of fun shit that they can do to test you. Another one where they're pricking your ear every 3 to 5 minutes and testing your blood for acidity, and they did that with Keegan. That's getting a threshold for you to see where your sprinting thresholds are. Anyway, lots of different tests that you can do. Okay, but these are basic ones we can do on our own. Zone 1, pretty good for warm-ups and gentle recoveries and such. 2 is a target range for aerobic-based activities, endurance activities. 3, anaerobic activities. 4, you're now sprinting, and then for short bursts of speed for zone 5, your 40-meter sprint. If you're Usain Bolt and it's under 10 seconds, right? You're zone 5. I mean, it's gas, 8, 9, 10, done. That's about all you can do in zone 5s. Okay, it's that intense. So it kind of gives you some ranges, okay, to work on. We talked about different ways to go it, wrist straps, watches, the rings, nailed all that stuff. I didn't even read this far. I just knew I wanted to have these in here. So key takeaways: paying attention to your heart rate in the zones can definitely help you maximize your benefits when you're exercising. Also can give you some things to be concerned about if your heart is not recovering like it normally does, your heart rate's not recovering like it normally does, or if for some reason you're not able to elevate it to levels that you normally can, or if it's a struggle when you're doing it. could be an indicator that something's wrong with you. So that's a good thing to have on there too. A lot of things, they just want to give you good warning too. Like a lot of times these are not super accurate. So if you have a day where your watch is reading your oxygenation level at 94, you don't need to go to the emergency room, right? Like it's just, they're not the perfect things to base any and all, medical decisions off of by any means. But is it something that you can do on a regular basis that gives you some kind of consistent result and allows you to range your efforts off of? Absolutely. And if your goal is to build muscle mass and improve your cardiovascular health at the same time, zone 2 with a little bit of zone 3 sprinkled in here and there is a great way to do that. And I would say if you're doing 45 minutes every day, zone 2 should be a good 30 to 35 of those. And the other 15 or so could be made up of a little zone 1 and a little zone 3. And your zone 3s can come from ski ergs, inertia waves, battle ropes, jam ball slams, bear crawls, tank pushes, tank pulls, drags, sleds, those kinds of things of 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds at the most at a significant effort, but not all out, everything you got. You want consistent bouts that you can kind of undulate and keep this high level, or else you're doing long, slow distance, LSD, 50% all day long, or you're sprinting, dying, recovering, sprinting, dying, recovering. I want these 75, 85, 75, 85, 75, 85. We want these little bouts where you're kind of continually up and down. Or in this case, if we're talking zone 2s, it's 60, 75, 60, 75, 60, 75. That's what you're looking for, okay? I hope that helps. Hope it gives you a little bit of an idea. Again, I think the wearable, the chest strap is probably your best one if you really want good consistency. Just not all that comfortable to put on and wear and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I would check those out. I forget the name of the one that everybody uses. Geez, how am I blanking on that? It's like the most common heart rate monitor. I can see the logo. Why am I not? Okay, Whoop is the one that I know everybody talks about, but it's black and white and Polar. Geez, yeah, Polar. I know you're all sitting there going, it's Polar, it's Polar. Yeah, Polar's the one that I think is probably the most. That and Whoop, the Whoop straps. Whoop strap goes around your arm, bicep, I think. So I've seen really good things with that one as well. Anyhow, check them out. Hopefully that gives you some direction, some ideas, some answers on how you can use some of these wearables to help gauge your intensities. Any comments, questions, hit me up down below. If not, continue to fight your good fight against sarcopenia. We'll see you next time. Take care.